so thank you for that. It's been great to see the collaboration between our two organisations, and it's, like I said, it's been a real privilege. So yeah, as Ramya said, I'm Mo Das. I'm one of the senior managers in the UK ISV team, and when I first realised cloud computing was my thing, for me it was a bit of an interesting journey into technology. My background is actually, I was a language scholar, so I studied French, German, I speak Portuguese. That was my sort of passion and my background. But when I sort of came out of my studies and into the real world, the working world, I was looking at roles involving languages and teaching, interpreting. They didn't really appeal to me. But I got approached by a company who were looking for a German speaker to help with their technology sales into that market. So I thought I'd give it a go, and very quickly realized I had a passion for technology and how ubiquitous it is in our lives and all the different things it affects from our day-to-day and also in our business world. So I was with a company who were a dedicated hosting provider, so providing managed servers that you would lease. And I was there right around the advent of public cloud computing, and I recognized what a game changer that was and what that would be. So I aligned myself to that practice within that organization so I could build up sort of my expertise and hopefully carve out a niche there. And I guess I backed the right horse because that has proven to be the future. But for me, the sort of the penny drop moment was when I realized how much cloud computing can actually, or has, changed the world as we know. So that infinite, quote unquote, compute capacity that became available and really sort of democratized compute power for the world has seen incredible advancements in things like mapping the genome, for example, in the healthcare space, or being able to really advance public services, and some incredibly powerful good has come out of that from the world. So I think when I recognized the impact that cloud computing could have on the world, that was where I really developed the passion. It wasn't something I grew up dreaming of, but it sort of developed and evolved over time for me.
So probably about 10 years ago, I started my first job as a PHP developer. So for a very long time, all I'd have dreamt of was actually building software. But actually, before I joined or went to university, the cloud wasn't something that we really knew about. So trained and learned how to do that, got my first job, and then about a year into that role, I had a particular problem, and that problem was I needed to have some kind of storage which was accessible from outside the office, but used authentication, something where I could pull some stuff down for. And I was looking around and came across Amazon S3, which, as we all know, is probably the most scalable cloud storage that's been available to the public market. So I decided to use this service and actually really enjoyed it. So I thought, let's have a look and see what else this AWS thing can do. And so actually within about 6 months, I actually fell in love with it so much that I was talking to my company about, hey, we should probably be moving from these on-premise data centers into there. And slowly over the next kind of couple of years, I went between a couple of different jobs, but actually decided to transition fully from being a software development engineer to being a platform engineer. Ended up with my previous job before AWS, where, again, they're another data center-based company, and I saw it as an opportunity to take all of my learnings, things that I had found worked and hadn't worked, and actually do a proper, a really big migration. But I think at this point here, I'd basically established I was going to be platform, DevOps, that was going to be my bread and butter. But I also needed to build out a team as well. So just like you have a platform team, I built my own platform team at my previous company, trained up a lot of folks, trained up myself, and migrated to the cloud, and then came to the decision, well, what do I want to do next? And I ended up at AWS. As you would, I fell in love with the technology. I felt that that was the best use of my abilities, is to be able to scale what I know to customers like yourself.
So when I was growing up, I wanted to be a ballet dancer by day and a chef by night. But I am a terrible dancer and a terrible cook. So my first job was actually at the Apple Store. So I worked at Apple, and what I loved there was finding technological solutions for people's problems. They'd walk in from the street, they'd think that they wanted the biggest iMac that we did, when in actual fact they probably just needed an iPod. And I really loved finding the right solution for the right person there. And then I went to work for IBM, and worked for IBM for 7 years. And whilst I was working there through various different roles, I was primarily working with mainframes, and then started to work in Z Cloud, which is a shared mainframe, so fundamentally cloud by a different name. And that was great. That was, taking people who had these, behemoths of technology, these massive mainframes who, they couldn't modernize, they couldn't do anything with, they took up physical space most of the time in their office, and finding something that, a solution that meant that they could, access it remotely and sort of have access to it via the cloud. And that's when I started to really sort of like the concept of cloud and the sort of the sharing of cloud. And that's when I thought, let's go to the market leader then. And that was when I applied for AWS, and was very lucky through our very rigorous process to get through. And yeah, I've been there now for nearly 5 years.
I'm still an engineer. I was an engineer, so I don't have a overlapping with story. But for me, there are two major moments when I realized that, I'd not say cloud is my passion, but I mean, two major moments where I realized that this is something that I'm a lot more interested in. I think the first embarrassing situation was when I joined MiQ, in a positive way, in 2015. And I came from a development company where we still had like physical data centers, and we used to take a machine from, at that point of time, they used to be called as NOC teams, then install my own database, install all my softwares there. I came here, and then the first application that I developed went to my manager and said that, can you give me a machine, and I can go ahead and install my software. So he gave me an IP, I did an SSH logged in, and then I was like, which database do you want me to install? Right, and that's where it was so embarrassing. He said, why are you installing it yourself? Right, and that point of time, he did, I think, a couple of hour sessions with me in terms of what cloud feels like, and then what I had been doing 3 or 4 days in my previous company, I was able to do it within probably minutes. Right, so I think that was a very enticing journey for me, that, okay, this is what people call as cloud. So that was the moment one when I got enticed. Second was somewhere in 2019 when I think the deck that Akash presented, where we wanted to put a more focus on cost. I'm sure most of us, including me, like numbers, and when they are increasing or decreasing for the right reasons. So I think cost aspect very specifically for cloud is something that again got my traction, where I started working on deep diving, issue debugging, reporting, and working, and could see that this cost optimization could bring in that business impact commercial from at least the underpinned side of things, right? And from then, I think cloud, including the cost and the FinOps part of the cloud, has kept me going on. Somewhere around 2013, even though I was not part of a MiQ, but that story is quite known when it comes to our cloud journey. One is, I think AWS has been our first vendor from the time when we have started. So I think AWS and Xandr, these are the only two 2012 sort of partner that we have been with us. So I remember hearing the story that when MiQ wanted to enter into the cloud journey, at that point of time, it was all about AWS, right? And I still feel it is. For me, multi-cloud, again, depends on domain, but people keep on talking about it, but then I have never looked beyond AWS, to be very honest. But yeah, I think it started back somewhere around 2012. I still remember us telling that our first bill was 2,500, like 2.5K, right? And we are, I don't know, do the math 1,000 times or 100 times than that. But yeah, I think the journey has been pretty standard, right? It always felt like we are working together. I think we have grown together, not at the same scale, but at the same point of time. The timeline graph that pretty much Akash says, that summarizes very well. But I think sitting with our CTO at that point of time, trying to decide that do we want to go into cloud, then starting with AWS, then starting with a lot more a warehouse-based approach, the old days of Redshift, right? Then trying to build our own application and deploying directly on EC2. Then working with Bruna, who's our account manager at that point of time, who helped us about a month of time, where within a month we were able to migrate our 30-odd services from deployed EC2 to Kubernetes, right? That journey was again quite beautiful. Cost journey has been great because one thing I think a lot of people think is that why would AWS help you with cost optimization, right? That they're losing money, which is absolutely incorrect, right? They are as equal and vested with us, and they have been from at least minimum last 6 years, where they love every time we save $1, right? Even though net they're losing it, but they also know that ultimately the loss is going to increase the focus on more and more services in AWS itself, right? So I think that's a perception that's again something that we have grown and matured over time. I mean, saving $1 is as equally from their contribution as is ours. So yeah, overall, and sitting today, I think last year when we got certified, I think that's a very good closure to our last 10 years of a summary. Getting AWS certified partners, going through that whole exhaustive process of 1.5 months. Validation, plus I think a huge thanks to the entire team for us making us reach there. So it has been a fantastic journey, and touch wood, I think will continue to be so.
In 2 phases, if I may say. So firstly, in terms of the structure of the team that's here to support you. So I run, in the UK business, I run our category of customers segment, customer support, customer relationship management, of customers of ours who are software companies, such as yourselves. And the way we've organized ourselves is in order to think about, well, what is it that our customers are doing? And how can we develop some expertise and domain understanding in that area so that we can bring more value to you? So Lucy, for example, who's in my team, she only focuses on ad tech and marketing tech companies, so that she's not constantly context switching from one customer call to another. She's got really good links to other parts of Amazon that are helping support you, such as Amazon Ads and other teams that we're going to talk about a bit later. But by doing that, it really means we're able to focus on you and bring you value, we hope. And then this partnership here, so the Lucy and Chris combination is crucial to the success as well. We have different disciplines and different skill sets. So I wouldn't be doing my Indian heritage justice if I didn't shoehorn a cricket analogy into this. So, and this might be an easy question, but show of hands, are there any cricket fans in the room by any chance? Yeah, 1 or 2. So I'd liken this partnership to a really good bowling partnership. So complementing skill sets, they might not necessarily have exactly the same approach or the same style, but what happens is when you bring them together, it can be really, really effective. So Lucy is your main point of contact, your main sort of avenue into all things AWS, and has a very commercial focus, to help you understand costs, opportunities, working with AWS, helping you navigate a very complex organization. We have over 200 services, and our job is to disambiguate that complexity for you. And Chris, from the technical side, is there to bring that technical expertise, that depth, and that understanding of your business and mapping that to AWS and making sure we're bringing forward not just a menu of, hey, here are all the services you could look at, but understanding your challenges, bringing you solutions that are appropriate, but crucially also bringing you access to our technical experts for each of those services and service areas. So I think that's on the one side, there's the structure of the team and how we're set up with those disciplines to support you. And on the other side of the coin is, I suppose, a more general sort of philosophy about how we think long term at Amazon and how we want to ensure that we're setting you up for success, because long term that means success for us as well. So Amazon was started out as a bookstore, back in the 90s. And if you look at the innovation and the different disciplines that have developed over the years at Amazon, that's been born out of thinking long term and working back from customer needs and customer requirements. And so essentially and ostensibly, my team's role is a sales role. So Lucy will carry a sales target that's based on AWS service consumption. So to Rohit's point, well, how is Lucy being sort of, successful if MiQ's AWS spend is going down? And this is what I think is incredibly unique about AWS and how we manage our customers and manage our sales organization, is that we are actually incentivized to do that and to help you do that. So there are certain mechanisms that we have whereby if we can help you achieve a saving, Lucy will actually get bonused based on that. And that, when I joined AWS, that blew my mind. I was like, hang on, this is a sales role, and we're paying our salespeople when a customer spends less money. But the idea is that longer term, exactly as Rohit said, that drives more value, that helps you create more success today, that you can use to deliver more value, innovate more, reinvest that saving to be more successful as a business, which in turn means we'll be more successful. So I think hopefully you'll be seeing that, you've seen the fruits of that approach. But like I said, I found it very peculiar when I first joined, and now the more I think about it over the last 7 years, I'm like, why doesn't everyone do this? It makes so much sense, because happy customer, happy us, and everyone wins in that scenario.
Yeah.